communities of Agua Mansa and La Placita, across from each other along the Santa Ana River, were the first non-native settlements in the San Bernardino Valley and had the first church and school. These villages were the largest settlement between New Mexico and Los Angeles during the 1840s. Today, the Agua Mansa Pioneer Cemetery is all that remains of these once thriving communities. Antonio Maria Lugo and Juan Bandini established the San Bernardino and Jurupa ranchos on former Mission San Gabriel property in the 1830s. By offering land, they convinced a group from Abiquia, New Mexico, to settle on the upper Santa Ana River and serve as a buffer against raiders and outlaws along the trading route from Santa Fe to Los Angeles. The emigrants first colonized Politana on the Rancho San Bernardino in 1842. 10 of these families, led by Lorenzo Trujillo, moved from Politana to 2,000 acres on the Bandini Donation, on the east side of the river, on the northern boundary of the Jurupa Rancho. This village was known as La Placita de los Trujillos, later called La Placita. A second group moved to the west side of the river at Agua Mansa, and by 1845, the twin communities were firmly established. Farmsteads were laid out, an extensive irrigation system was dug, and grapes, grain, vegetables, and fruit trees were planted. Horses, sheep, and cattle were pastured on the mesa to the southeast, at present-day Riverside. Agua Mansa flourished until January 1862, when a great flood filled the Santa Ana River from bluff to bluff and destroyed the West Bank community, leaving only the cemetery, the chapel, and Cornelius Jensen's adjoining store, built in 1854. Most of the homes in La Placita were also damaged or destroyed. Although rebuilt, the farming community never regained its importance. The coming of the railroad, the rise of the cement industry, and the expansion of the citrus industry drew people away from these two farming communities. La Placita was a recognized community of Riverside until 1926. The Trujillo Cantina closed in World War II, and the last burial in the cemetery occurred in 1963. La Placita's first church was brush-covered en ramada, a bower or arbor. A permanent adobe church was built near that river bank in 1852. It collapsed in quicksand the day after the last row of adobe bricks were placed. Work on a third church, this time on the Agua Mansa side of the river, started immediately. The 11-foot by 58-foot chapel was completed in 1853 and dedicated in 1857 as San Salvador. The chapel withstood the 1862 flood, although the water rose to its steps. In fact, the ringing church bell alerted the Agua Mansans to the impending flood, and all escaped without loss of life. In 1867, however, the parish was moved to San Bernardino, and by 1883, the chapel stood abandoned and crumbling. Agua Mansa today. In an effort to stem vandalism, Friends for the Preservation of the Agua Mansa Pioneer Cemetery was formed in 1955 by Marie Espinoza Wood, a descendant of two of the original families. Through hard work and fundraising, these volunteers researched the land title, built a bridge, and fenced and refurbished the cemetery. In 1967, Agua Mansa Pioneer Cemetery was acquired by San Bernardino County and is now administered as a museum branch of the San Bernardino County Museum. With the help of Friends of Agua Mansa Pioneer Cemetery, a full-size replica of the San Salvador Church was constructed and dedicated in 1978 within the cemetery boundaries and is used today as a museum. Agua Mansa Pioneer Cemetery is today an oasis with its many markers in Spanish and natural setting providing a respectful glimpse into the past.
Big old pricker. Anyway, that's part of it. It's part of getting to these places, guys. Pretty hot out here. It's starting to drip a little bit, but I'm gonna head back to the car. Put on some more sensible shoes. Listen, I'm gonna take a walk up here on the blacktop. No, I did not change my shoes. This one here looks like a water chute or a sluice box. I guess they could afford what they could afford, you know. Some of them look homemade, some of them are just little wooden crosses. That's Foxy Escapes and I scraping sticker balls off our feet. This cemetery is a landmine of sticker balls. That one over there.
Yeah, with the thin man?
Yep. I'm going in.
I'll just do.
You're lucky. You got a zoom feature. Benniloco's going through the stickers. Get off my foot, sticker. Oh, his little head is gone. He's just a baby. Just a little guy. I really want to go through here, guys, but these breaker balls are unreal. I have another one in my heel. There we go. There goes Foxy. She's walking where it's safe. On the blacktop. Ooh. Starting to get warm out. It's gotta be a baby. Oh. I know. Not a very peaceful sleep for these guys. Look at this. Back in the 1800s, none of that was there. They thought this was a beautiful hill to have eternal rest on. Why?
Why can't they fix these?
They can. They just need to replace the lid.
Let's go back there by the tree.
Okay.
Even that
Ooh.
one's like,
I know.
sorry for dragging the feet, guys, but it's bad.
Yes, you can hear them crunching under my flip-flops.
Like they're stuck inside the soles.
Oh, little lizard. Right in the hole. Uh-oh. Hope that's his house. Yeah, this place is in terrible disrepair.
Yeah.
For a vintage, you know, historic cemetery. Just like I say about the abandoned houses. Somebody needs to come in here and fix
See
this
some
up.
pine needles over here.
Yeah, nice and soft. Take a nap on these.
Beer box back here.
Yes. I didn't lock my car.
I don't think anyone's coming.
Okay. I hope not. Oh my. That's like a little church. With little steps up. How cute. Yep.
These ones are old.
Very old. It's so weather beaten. I can't even tell. Glass window. I don't know what that's all about, but that's the first time I ever saw anybody with a view out. View out. It's got a view window. Little mission.
I wonder if there's like candles inside those.
Yes, of course. Very cute. Come up to see you. If you want to say anything, you can speak into the camera. This is a whole family here. We got mother, sister, probably, father, grandfather. Oh dear. Some of these are homemade. Tell by the writing. Just a baby as well. 1931 to 1939. Delia Garcia, 1875 to 1941. There's some really old tombstones in the cemetery. And it's some sort of a container for ashes, I believe. The trees could tell stories too. I think there's probably graves out here that headstones and all. Well, here we are at the end of our tour of the where are we? Wherever we are. It's me, Foxy and Cape. We're somewhere in a really old cemetery in California. And we just had the biggest fight with brick walls you've ever could imagine. So.
Yeah. I had to throw away a pair of flip-flops.
Do not come to the cemetery unprepared with lead boots. Dudes, this is fun. Catch you on the next one. Cheers, Foxy.
Cheers.